somewhere down this road. So there's a few entrances that we can reach them. And so down here, it's a nice entrance point. But that's it. That's as far as you can get with the First Amendment. Get it? To Tony Podesta's house. And John Podesta. And we didn't get an interview. But that's a start, right? I control the block. We got him surrounded. That's what you say. Oh, is it intimidating? I don't think so. Was she intimidated? She didn't look intimidated.
There you see the live stream of an unhinged and potentially violent, potentially terrorist. Their case in the neighborhood, as you heard, he mentioned Tony Podesta, John Podesta, of course, former chief of staff from Clinton and also advisors to the last couple of Democratic presidents in the neighborhood. Talking about we got the place surrounded. That's what you say, at least. Am I intimidating? But you know what? I don't think the Podestas was actually his solo and only target there. In fact, he went deeper when he was searching out this house.
What's going on? I'm outside Barack Obama's house, and there was this bag here with all this stuff in it. So I'm recovering what I can off of it and establishing a report with that lady over there at Secret Service. She can hear everything I'm saying. It's totally fine. I know what I'm up to. I'm a professional. So what you do, because we don't know if they're coming back or not, but we're gonna assume that some of it's abandoned and some of it's not, because someone might need these clothes. So we're gonna check these bags. Yeah, they got me surrounded now. So I gotta grab what I gotta grab. We get the out of here. Put this back. This just looks empty. We got me surrounded, so I gotta keep moving. I gotta move now because people are coming. So I'll leave that Bible for a sojourner that comes after me. Gotta keep going, because now they're coming.
As he mentioned, now they're coming. You hear some distant sirens in the out past where he is, because Taylor Taranto, who is known, I guess, by the FBI and also local law enforcement, was finally arrested. CBS News actually has details of who this guy is, because this isn't his only ridiculous criminal move that he's pulled off. Let's watch what they pointed out about him. This is crazy.
There's new information on the January 6th defendant arrested near the home of former President Barack Obama here in D.C.
After federal agents spotted and chased Taylor Taranto outside the D.C. home of former President Obama, they say they found these guns, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, and a machete in Taranto's van parked nearby. The feds had already been trying to arrest Taranto for allegedly being part of the mob that attacked the Capitol January 6th, for which he faces 4 misdemeanor charges. Late today, federal prosecutors told a judge Taranto could have learned Obama's address from a social media post by former President Trump. They alleged Trump posted what he claimed was Obama's address on his Truth Social platform, the same day Taranto was arrested near the home.
There's a lot going on here. Okay, so quick recap here. Taranto apparently learned of Obama's address from a Truth Social post. That's what they're assuming based off of the timing of this, from Trump posting it out there. Who knew exactly if it was real? Maybe it was. But also, he was also already wanted. They were looking for him for his connections and being a part of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And also, his van was packed with all those weapons, tons of ammunition, multiple weapons. What was he doing there is the question. But there's one more thing, Jordan, before I let you respond to all this. Graphic 1 here, you guys. A prosecutor said that Taranto and his associates entered an elementary school in Tacoma Park, Maryland, outside of Washington on June 18th. The rest of this happened around June 27th, 28th, I believe. Taranto streamed their procession through the building. The video depicted Taranto and his associates walking around the school, entering the gymnasium, and using a projector to display a film related to January 6th. I have no idea how this kind of access he got. But also when he was doing that, he stated that he specifically chose that elementary school due to its proximity to Congressman Raskin's home. And that he's targeting Raskin because he's one of the guys that hates January 6 people, or more like Trump supporters. And it's kind of like sending a shockwave through him because I did nothing wrong. is what prosecutors quoted Taranto as saying, Jordan. So, okay, there's a lot we just threw at your lap here, but this is apparently something that is still ongoing with his with what they're going through with court proceedings. But he's just casing the joint with guns. What's the next step here?
I mean, thankfully there wasn't any next step for him. He was finally caught after repeated trespassing and obviously involvement with January 6th. Like, it could have gotten a lot worse. Who knows who else in that neighborhood could have gotten hurt? This guy doesn't seem really tethered to reality. Seems like a conspiracy theorist and someone who listens to and internalizes everything Trump says. Just look at the results. Look at how listening to Trump and hanging on his every word, look at where that gets you. You're involved in January 6th, you're breaking into an elementary school, and you're arrested for showing up with a stockpile that rivals a small army outside of a former president's home. And the people he was naming, the Podestas, I mean, that goes back to like the Pizzagate conspiracy.
Yeah.
What do you have against that? Like, they're boring kind of like DC swamp creatures. They have no real power anymore. They have some influence, sure, but that goes back to another conspiracy theory. So this is someone who has just been believing everything he reads and hears and sees on the internet for years. And this is where he ends up. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think at one point they mentioned he was an Iraq veteran, war veteran there, and maybe he's got some issues. I think they've mentioned PTSD potentially from that. This is one of those cases where then if you go, well, you know, he's just kind of unhinged and mental health, maybe he's not getting his the proper care that he needs from it. But this is why you don't say and do random things like incite your supporters to violence or think that, oh, political opponents mean they're demons and they're Satan, they're coming for your children. Because then people go off the rails and say, I need to do something about this because they're telling me things that I didn't know about and they must be connected and know what's going on. So let me show up at a former president's house from an opposing political party with guns and tons of ammo. Now, you would think maybe this guy's gonna hang out in jail for a while, but really fast because this is still the American judicial system, you know, that one. Let's go to graphic 4 because the judge is trying to figure out whether or not, you guys saw that, cased the joint multiple times, was in the vicinity, who knows if he actually had access to it, but he was definitely looking for it. But graphic 4 points out what's happening now with these court proceedings, which makes it even worse. Faruqui, who was the magistrate judge overseeing this case, indicated on Thursday that he's still not certain how he will rule on the prosecutor's request to keep Taranto locked up. There's a potential risk of flight, is what he said, but he had to decide whether it was serious enough to detain him. He said, I'm just really concerned right now about the flight risk, adding later that he was exploring a couple of options for Taranto to be released into the custody of a third party until his trial. You know, because someone who's potentially a terrorist coming after former presidents and threatening in his live stream videos and showing up at elementary schools because they're close to another political opponent of his because he's all on Donald Trump's ass. All of that is happening, and we're trying to decide whether or not he's gonna stay in jail until trial. How many other people with, I mean, I guess it's an opinion-based thing, but far less lethal type of crimes are hanging out in jail, maybe theft, and then sit there and rot because there's no trial coming. But now they're like, oh, we have to let him go. I mean, we can't keep him here. I mean, we can't do that at all because he's not really a flight risk. He doesn't believe in the United States democracy. He showed up on January 6th.
Yeah, this is somebody who doesn't have regard for the law as is. If they tell him, okay, you're released on bond, who's to say he's going to, respect that? Who's to say he's going to show up for his next court proceeding? Who's to say he's not going to try to leave or just disappear? I mean, these people have just blatant disregard for any attempt at organizing or structuring our society in a reasonable way. Why would he care? Like, it's a bizarre decision. And to your point, there are people who have done way less who are stuck in jail because they can't afford bail. Yeah. So part of that problem overall is the cash bail system and the disproportionate allocation that often falls along racial or class lines. But this is somebody who just seems like it's simple, it's obvious. Why would you let this guy go? That's 100%. Why I'm not a judge, I guess.
It was this former president who said once, there's this program they have. It's called Catch and Release. It's catch and release. Who would have think of it? Apparently, it's apparently in this case as well.